right. Well, first off, thanks for doing this interview, and congratulations becoming a D23 legend, or is it Disney legend?
D23, but
Yes.
it's a Disney legend. But the
Yes.
D23 was the event when which they had the ceremony.
Now, there was a lot of big stars there. I heard there was some singing backstage. Were you a part of that, or?
Some singing
Yeah, I heard like
backstage.
what Dick Van Dyke was singing with a lot of other legends there. Or you must
I
have.
didn't hear about that. I did speak with Dick Van Dyke, but I didn't hear anybody singing back there.
Oh, okay, I heard it was an inter. Let's go fly a kite. Everyone started singing, but that's what I heard. You
Oh,
were there.
okay.
That's why I'm asking you.
Okay. Well, it was at the luncheon, and I think that's where that took place. It wasn't backstage. At the
Okay.
luncheon, there was a group who got together. It was a small band at the luncheon who played while we were having our lunch. And towards the end, several people gathered around Dick, and they started singing, and he did get up.
Oh, that's
You know,
cool.
so it was, there was about 20 people there, and
So I'll take you back to was it 1950 or 1965?
1965.
Yeah,
Yes.
and you were one of the 10 finalists. What were they?
There were
asking
5
for?
finalists.
Oh, 5.
Hmm.
So what were they quizzing you on to become the very first ambassador?
There was there were several months of having different interviews and being in different situations, television shows, radio shows, press events, in which they would see our reaction to stress and our reactions to questions that we couldn't answer, and just all kinds of things to see what are you going to do when you get out in public. What are you going to do when you don't really know the answer? Can you cope with that? Or if somebody insists that, no, you're wrong, you don't know what you're talking about. So how do you go about this? So all of that sorts of thing. Also, of course, they would take us to different types of restaurants and trying different types of food. It was interesting during one of our interviews when we were just in one of the meeting rooms at the park, every one of us got asked, what is the food you most dislike?
Oh,
What is the next food you dislike? So, of course, at some of the restaurant situations we went to, the people who were with us, the Disney executives, ordered for us.
oh,
They ordered for me oysters.
oh no!
Because I told them, I said, what I really don't care for and hope I don't have to meet when we're doing something is a plate of oysters. Guess what I got? A plate of oysters.
Did you finish it?
I did not finish it, but I certainly did indulge.
Very nice. Now, what did you do before that? Like, did you work at the park before? Or?
Yes. I was a tour guide. I had interviewed in 1962. It was when I was just in college, and I was out of Cal State Long Beach, and I thought, gee, I need to have some spending money, and I was in a sorority. I thought I need to pay the dues, not expect my parents to do that.
Yeah.
So I went out to the park and I interviewed, and I was crossing my fingers, hoping they would hire me to be a tour guide. Sure enough, the individual who interviewed me was favorably impressed, and he said, as a matter of fact, he said, when would you like to start? It kind of surprised me. I said, well, in the summertime. He said, really? Next week is Easter. How would you like to be trained during Easter week? You have off. I said, well, yes, I am out of college for that week. He said, so let's train. What do you say? I said, okay. He said, let's go over and meet head of wardrobe. She's going to get you a couple costumes. So we went over and I met Lela. And Lela looked at Bob, who had just done this, and she said, Bob, aren't we skipping several steps? He said, yeah, but you wait until you hear. Then you'll understand. Get those costumes ready. Get our measurements, get them ready. She's starting in 2 days.
Oh my goodness.
So?
Now, speaking of costumes, did you have to wear the iconic hat back then, or was it?
Yes, it was like a riding cap,
Yeah.
which, when you're in an equestrian, that's what, but it wasn't a real one. It wasn't hard. It was a soft, so made to look like it. And even our outfit, they had the plaid skirts, red, they were Royal Stewart. And then the white blouse, high collar, and the red vest, 2 buttons, and then you carried a riding crop. And the riding crop was, of course, when you're taking your tours around the park, everybody on your tour would have a little name tag. But every time a tour went out, they had a different color on the name tag. So they kept them separated.
Oh,
So
wow.
red would go out, yellow would go out, green would go out, purple would go out, etc. And then they'd start over again so that you weren't having 2 in a row in the same place. So you would put that on the end of your crop, wave that in the air, and they could see you as you were coming through the crowd.
Oh wow, that's good history to know. So what are your fond memories of working with Walt Disney himself? You know, it's nice talking to people that actually knew him to keep his memory going. You know, talking about him.
He was definitely a true artist
Yeah.
and just so extremely creative, as we all know.
Hmm.
He was definitely family oriented. You could see that with his own family, with Lil, his wife, Lily, and with his two daughters, Diane and Sharon. Um, he, and he loved people. I could see that when we would be in the park and things would happen. Oftentimes, of course, any celebrity doesn't want to constantly be stopping and signing autographs, but Walt was great about it.
Yeah.
And he explained something to me right at the beginning when I had signed contract with him. He said, "You're going to meet thousands and thousands of people." And he said, "A lot of these people," he said, "they are just," he said, "even though they can't come to the park, they live so far away," he said, "they are intense fans."
Hmm.
So he said, "You're going to be asked for autographs again and again and again." He said, "Remember, what makes us is our fans." He said,
Oh.
"I could create millions of great, fantastic, and interesting rides and exhibits and movies. But if the fans don't like them, where are we?"
Yeah.
He said, "We're nothing." So he said, "Remember, it's your fans that make you." And he said, "You've signed a contract." So he said, "Now you're promoting not just Disneyland, but the Disney organization, all of our movies." And he said, "Me and my family." Because he said, "Your contract says you're not just representing Disneyland for the Tencennial. You're representing my company and me personally." And that was great. I mean,
Wow.
I knew it was an opportunity of a lifetime.
Well, I feel like that spirit lives on because D23 is all about giving back to the fans and everything, and it's everything. Nothing without the fans. So.
You're right.
So okay, you were there when it's 10th anniversary. Now we're on the 60th. Disney's never complete. There's always going to be building, but also means some stuff has to be taken away. What attraction ride do you like sort of miss the most? You know?
Miss the most?
Yeah. Or anything, or
I'm not really sure.
yeah.
I'm not a good one to ask that.
Yeah.
I just love all the creativity that goes on here. So I like seeing the new things.
Yeah.
We have grandchildren, my husband and I now, and of course one of the things I just went to, only experienced recently, was Cars, along with my 4-year-old grandson, who just could not get enough, So it's things like that that keep it truly alive, and just tweaking things every once in a while, doing small things that to me keep it alive, that they make something a little bit better. And I like that about it. You go into the Haunted Mansion, and it's not the exact Haunted Mansion it used to be. It's a little better.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see. And when you've been around as long as I have, you know that.
Yeah, it's always nice when you add just like something new. Like Alice in Wonderland, they had a little bit of animation. They had Hatbox
Yes.
Ghost in Disneyland, or Haunted Mansion in Disneyland. So great. Well, what do you do? Are you still ambassador today, or working with any of the programs for Disney?
No, I don't work actively with the programs, but I do come back for certain events. And they're very gracious. They've always been great to me. And very welcoming, and they're excited when they ask me, will I participate in a particular program with them? There's a special event. Can I come? Would I speak? Could I meet people? They're just really stupendous about being supportive. They always have been, right from the very beginning. Walt and some of his vice presidents were a little bit disappointed when I first finished my contract, and they'd ask me, was I going to resign? And I had told the vice presidents, 2 or 3 of them right up front, no, I would not. But I said, Walt and I talked about that when I first signed contract with you, that I would be returning to school. I said, my education is important. I said, I don't just want that bachelor's, I want to go on for a master's or perhaps even further. So I said, I'm going to do that. Then I will consider what direction I'm going. And I said, and of course, I care about the Disney organization so much.
Yeah.
I said, who knows? Yes, perhaps I will be back. But I said, right now I can't say. I said, education first. I said, I stopped school when I had straight A's for the very first time in my life. It was my junior year when they asked me would I sign contract. And I was kind of, at first I said, now? I said, can you wait until the end of the term? Well, I said, no, I need you now. So I had to think about that. And he said, okay, can we sweeten the deal? I said, okay, yeah, I'll sweeten the deal. So he did.
Let's go to the timeline then. So you started work in 1965, and when did you stop to go back to finish your degree?
In '66, later in the year, the last part of the year, I went back, second term.
Okay, and then you didn't come back?
I didn't go back fully, no, because I got married,
Yeah.
and my
Family
husband was in the Army, and he was stationed back at the Pentagon.
Oh.
We're back in Washington, D.C., and we live in Alexandria, Virginia, which is
Really?
a suburb.
Yes.
Of that
yes. I
area.
grew up in Maryland. So
Okay, so you know it well.
I know Alexandria really well. My aunt and uncle live in Arlington, so.
That's the place.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, thank you very much.